Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Zachary Dickinson here and hope you all had a wonderful weekend. Sorry about the no video on Saturday, just time got away and I just didn't really have time on Saturday itself to film the video. So sorry about that. I also was very unprepared to even film a video at all. So very much. I will do better to hopefully that never happens again. So today I'll start today I'll start a new kind of series, but over the past 2 weeks, I've done videos on the MCU and DCU of their new or current universes and their TV shows and movies that are going to be coming out this year. MCU with 8 and DCU with only 4. And I ranked them on by excitement. Wonder Man is officially out now. I have not watched it yet. I do plan on watching it sometime soon. It's just not. It also came out with all 8 episodes. I wasn't expecting that either. But overall, I did those 2 videos to kind of start what to expect on a typical Monday from me. I'll be doing Marvel and DC content on Mondays. And so for the foreseeable future, I'll be talking about the MCU. Since it's easier to talk about the MCU's early beginnings, since the DCU is just now starting, and the DCEU is not really all that much good information to talk about. A video about that will come in the future, just not right now. So I'll be doing a series every week. For the first 4 in the series, I'll be going over the Infinity Saga, and first video right now is Phase 1. The beginnings of the MCU Infinity Saga, Marvel Cinematic Universe, Infinity Saga, Phase 1. How good was it? Well, we're about to find out. I'll be doing, next week I'll do Phase 2, then the following I'll do Phase 3. However, if I think it's too long, like I never want a video to actually be like over 20 to 30 minutes unless I absolutely view it necessary, which is the Daredevil video that came out last week. I felt it necessary to have one that long. However, videos like these, I don't really want to be all that long. So if the Phase 3 video ends up being too long, I'll break it up into multiple parts. Then after that, I'll break down the whole saga after I do Phases 1, 2, and 3 all in a row. And then I'll start doing the Multiverse Saga. I'll do Phases 4, 5, part of what's happened already in 6, then a video of everything else yet to come out about 6 that we know about, and then a video on the entire saga as a whole. And then I'll start doing a little bit of DC stuff as well. Okay, so this video will be on the Marvel Cinematic Universe, its early beginnings of the Infinity Saga. It wasn't really known to be the Infinity Saga until later on in the saga itself. But this is Phase 1. There are 6 movies. We have both Iron Man 1 and 2. We have the Incredible Hulk, rather controversial in and of itself. We have Thor, Captain America, the First Avenger, and then the Avenger. And that's it. That's everything. Just 6. So for this one, since there are only 6 movies, there's no Spider-Man, there's no X-Men, there's no Fantastic Four. They worked out the deal with Sony for Spider-Man and in like 2015 or so. And so that's whenever that came. So right now, in this era of time, as we go back in time with Phase 1, we're on the heels of the end of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy that he wanted to make a 4th, but Sony made him put a lot into the 3rd movie. Fun fact. We're still a few years before the Andrew Garfield 2 Spider-Man movies, and we're way before Tom Holland ever enters the MCU, before we even knew the MCU would be successful. So they don't have the rights to Fantastic Four or the X-Men. They don't have a deal with Sony worked out for Spider-Man. So this is, in and of itself, this is a plan for the original Avengers. Now, the only 2 from an actual Avengers group missing is Ant-Man and the Wasp. Yes, Hank Pym and his wife, I forget her name right now, the Ant-Man and the Wasp are original Avengers. They weren't here. I do not really know why. I'm pretty sure Ant-Man is an original Avenger for a lot of the comics, but they chose these Avengers. And so as a preface, and so how will I break it down or talk about these? I'll go over 4 things. How integral to the whole MCU is this movie? Is this canon or is this loosely canon? Where in the timeline is this? And then lastly, what is my overall opinion on each? I'll give the first 3 and then begin my opinion. Expect this video to be around 20 or so minutes. So, the first movie in the MCU and Marvel's biggest risk ever. Yes, they took their biggest risk by having Robert Downey Jr., who was coming out of rehab and had a plethora of issues with him, but they took a chance and put him as their lead character for the entire saga with a bunch of incentives if the saga ever actually went off and did well. Those incentives are always in rumors to be about what they actually were. But they took a big risk and it ended up to pay off, with Iron Man being the first movie. It grossed worldwide 585.7 million with a $140 million budget. So that's how much it made, and it did nearly 4 times its budget. So it did really well. And so how integral is Iron Man? Well, Iron Man started it all. It also did a very unique approach to superhero movies up to that point, which was his identity as Iron Man was put out to the entire world at the end of the movie. That is something that's not generally done. And also Marvel has never really done Iron Man, so it wasn't really something that's normal to do for superheroes. It is canon or loose canon? It is canon. There's only one that is loosely canon in this entire phase 1. Where in the timeline is it? It is a movie where it actually takes place exactly when it comes out in theaters. Roughly around like 2008 or so, whenever it came out, is roughly whenever it actually takes place in the timeline. That is weird, and it happens very few times. Overall opinions on the Iron Man movie. It is great. I love it. Most of the phase 1 movies are just overall good movies. Not great, not groundbreaking or anything of the sort. They're just good origin story movies with good to above average villains mostly. And yeah, Iron Man he's a billionaire, philanthropist, playboy. And he kind of starts to change as he suddenly gets a suit of armor. And so I very much still have loved each movie of the Iron Man trilogy. Not everyone does, but I still do. So that is Iron Man. It is very integral. It is very much canon. It actually takes place pretty much around when the movie comes out. And I love the movie, and it is a great start to the MCU. Alright, so now we have the Incredible Hulk, which came out just a few months after, well, no, literally a little over a month after Iron Man. It grossed 264.7 million worldwide, including both the US and everywhere else, with not really confirmed, but somewhere around $137.5 to $150 million budget. So on terms of marketing and everything like that, it probably lost money. And the original Hulk was Edward Norton. This later, by the time we get to the Avengers or something earlier than that, he is no longer the Hulk. All the events that happened in The Incredible Hulk are canon. However, it's very much a weird interaction, and Mark Ruffalo's version of the Hulk is still very much different from Edward Norton, but still loosely having the same exact origin story of the Incredible Hulk. But most of the movie in and of itself isn't really canon until we had Captain America 4 come out last year, which canonized a lot more of it. So it's been loosely canon, and I would still say that it is very much still loosely canon. It introduced the Incredible Hulk, so it is a little bit integral, but it only introduced the Hulk. Mark Ruffalo's version very much changed that. So somewhat, it's not very all that integral. It is very loosely canon, and so it also puts it timeline wise in a very, very difficult place. So my overall opinion, I don't really remember the movie, and I don't ever intend on watching it again because it has no actual significance to it in and of itself. No one really has ever appeared again from the movie, except for Thunderbolt Ross, who has now been recast due to the original actor just dying. Um, Ross's daughter does reappear, but almost 20 years later. So most of the context of this movie you can gather from doing a little bit of online research or a quick little YouTube video. So it is one of the loosely canon, not really that integral, hard to figure out in the timeline, and overall it's a movie. Okay, so the third movie in the Marvel Cinematic Infinity Saga universe, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and Infinity Saga Phase 1, we have Iron Man 2, which came out in 2010, grossing worldwide at $623.9 million, with north of close to a $200 million budget. So roughly 3 times the budget they made back on it. However, even though the movie came out in 2010, the events of the movie roughly take place only about 6 months after Iron Man 1. So whereas Iron Man took place roughly around 2008, Iron Man 2 takes place rather close to when Iron Man 1. So this is the first instance of a sequel taking place near identical timing to when the first one came out, just like other movies in later on in the MCU. It is very integral, and it also shows the palladium poisoning of Iron Man, of Tony Stark, as he goes about this, and has to change up and create a whole new resource or element in order to survive and continue living. He goes through a fear that he's about to die, and so he goes through a lot in this movie, even handing over the keys to his company to Pepper Potts. And it's a very, very weird movie where it's the only instance of Tony Stark Iron Man actually delving a little bit into how he acts in the comics overall, because this version of Iron Man never really actually delves into how he acts in the comics. Outside of being an a-hole, a philanthropist, a playboy, all this and that, he officially starts a relationship with Pepper by the end of the movie. And so we go through all of that. And so he never really actually settles down all that much in the comics. And he's mostly a drunk and an asshole and never really actually develops or goes beyond that. He develops, but not in the way this movie develops him. And so I love the movie. It still holds up. I actually rewatched it last year, and it actually made my opinion of it better because I think overall the movie is good. The villain execution, however, just wasn't as good as it should have been. So now, taking place concurrently and roughly around towards the end, or somewhere around that end or so, of Iron Man 2 is Thor. No title, no subpart at all, no Incredible, no First Avenger, just Thor. Thor, son of Odin, is a brash young individual and very much wants the throne of Asgard, wants to rule the 9 realms. How integral is it? It shows Thor in the MCU for the first time, Shows how integral the Bifrost and Asgard is into the rest of the realms of the MCU. It is very much canon, very easily canon into the MCU. All the events of Thor are canon, every single last bit. The pseudo villain of Thor, basically Loki. I say pseudo villain, he's not a full villain, he's just like causing a little bit of havoc. And he's not the one to actually fight Thor. The one to actually fight Thor is the it's the villain of Thor is Loki, but the one that fights Thor is the Destroyer that's there. They defeat it. And so where in the timeline, it's right around the events of Iron Man 2. This is known as Fury's Big Week. As Iron Man 2 happens, Thor happens, the events of the Incredible Hulk also happen. And this is around the time whenever they get Steve unfrozen from what happened in the first Avenger. So basically all the stuff that's leading in and forming the Avengers all happens in around this week. And so this is a very integral bit, as this is one of the things that lead in to the to directly into the Avengers. We have Iron Man 2, Thor, and Captain America, and then right after that is the Avengers. So it is very integral, and the Bifrost is very integral to a lot of the early MCU content that comes out. So it is overall a great movie, and once again, I did watch it very recently, last year, I believe. And so it is a great and phenomenal movie. It is just like Iron Man 1, though. The villain is okay. The plot or storyline isn't the best, but it is good opening chapter for the beginning era of the MCU. So now, movie number 5, the second last movie of Phase 1 is Captain America, the First Avenger. The tail end of the movie happens around the same time as Iron Man 2 and Thor. However, the majority of this movie occurs in 1943 to 1945, the core events of when the US is in World War II and fighting against the Nazis. Or really the or really also Hydra in and of itself. The Nazi Hydra is a subsect scientist part of the German Nazi thing, where Red Skull is the leader and Arnim Zola is also a part of it. We have the Howling Commandos in this as well, which is a wonderful piece. And overall, how integral is it? Well, Captain America is very integral, so overall, it is very integral to the whole entire MCU. All 3 Captain America movies are widely regarded as phenomenal. And also, we have the overall budget was 140 million and it made 370 million. So that is just under 3 times the amount of budget. So just under 3 times, but roughly about 2.5. Yeah, just over 2.5 times. So about 2.6 or something like that times what the budget was. So a very good movie. Normally, if it makes at least 2 times the budget, it's good. If it makes 3 times the budget, it is right on the sweet spot. So it didn't make 3 times the budget, but overall, people still have loved the first Avenger movie as a whole. It is canon. The only one I mostly left the canon loose canon thing for the Incredible Hulk movie. Again, 1943 to 1945, with the last couple minutes of the movie being during Fury's Big Week in the events where Iron Man 2, Thor, Incredible Hulk, and the tail end of First Avenger all take place. And so this is the penultimate spot before the Avengers movie finally comes out. And this is the second time, I believe. Let me check. This is the second time in the early stage of the MCU where we have 2 films released in the same year. We had Iron Man and Hulk released in back-to-back months, Iron Man 2 released in 2010, Thor and Captain America released in 2011, and the Avengers will release in 2012. And so overall, I love this movie. This is one of my favorites, really. It's not really in the like top 10 or anything because there's still some overall better movies, but as a whole, this is might be my favorite to second favorite of the original first six Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So now, the final movie of Phase 1, we have The Avengers, the sixth and final installment of the MCU Infinity Saga, first phase. The events of The Avenger take place to be believed in 2012, which is quite some time later after the rest of the first couple of movies, as they took place around 2008 to 2009 or something like that. So it takes place a little bit of time. I believe it probably takes place around 2011 maybe, but reports say May 2012 to keep in line with when it released. It is very integral and has the first official lineup of the Avengers with Iron Man, Captain America, Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, Thor, Hawkeye, and Black Widow. Natasha Romanoff's Black Widow appeared in Iron Man 2. Nick Fury appeared in Iron Man 2. Thor, Captain America, the ending, and the Avengers as well. Hawkeye appeared in Thor as well. Mark Ruffalo's Hulk didn't appear until the Avengers. There was also the Incredible Hulk, which had Edward Norton. So it's very integral and tied in the entirety of the first phase of the MCU, all nice and neat together. It is very much canon. Timeline's already been said, and so my overall opinion, it still holds up as to be one of the best movies in the entire MCU history. The villain is Loki, and it's very well thought out and very done. It's just not one of the most complex villains, but it is a good opening story for the Avengers. It's very kind of funny when they come back to that. I believe it's the deleted scene where Rocket laughs at them for having such a hard issue with one of the weaker armies in the Chitauri. It does a slow introduction of Thanos, as he only appears for about a minute in the Avengers movie, but it kind of introduces the big bad of the entire saga without introducing him that big, because he's not fully introduced until much, much later, with even a different actor as well. So that is the first phase of the MCU. Those are the first 6 movies, the beginning of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Infinity Saga, and everything about the first phase. Phase 1 and Phase 2 have the same amount of movies. Phase 3 has 12, which is why I'm not sure about whether or not to put a 1 or 2 videos about it out. If I were to rank all 6 movies, it would be the Avengers, Captain America, the first Avenger. Then we would have, this is where it gets difficult. Those two, right off the bat that they're probably the best too. Then we would have Iron Man, Iron Man 2, Thor, Incredible Hulk. That would probably be it. We have the Avengers as number 1, Captain America, first Avenger, then Iron Man, followed by Iron Man 2. I do prefer it a little bit, just a tiny bit. Then Thor, and then ultimately Incredible Hulk, due to how little canon it actually is. So I hope you all stayed around for the entire around 24 or so minute long video we have here today. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, leave a like below. Subscribe to be notified about the future of Marvel and DC content on Mondays. We have TV show content on Wednesdays and book reviewing content on Saturdays. This week's Wednesday video will be what I watched in January this month, and some of the seasonal anime that I'm currently watching as well. And Saturday's video will be a quicker video on what I've read in the first month of 2026 in January. So I hope you all have a wonderful and blessed day. God bless, and peace out.